I'm such a failure. I'm a nobody. I'm a loner. No one likes me. I'm not good enough. These are all lies that you're telling yourself that's going to destroy your well-being. And I want to help you to realize that, yes, how you feel is very valid. If you feel like no one likes you, that's valid. If you feel like you make these mistakes all the time, and sometimes they're really big mistakes, and you feel like a failure, that's valid to feel that way. But it's not true. These are lies that you're telling yourself. The things that you do, the ideas that you have, maybe the mistakes that you make might happen, right? You're not perfect. You're gonna say things that maybe you regret. You're gonna do things that you wish you never would have done. You're gonna make mistakes. But the lie is when you start to believe the negative connotations of your feelings. So it's one thing to say that your feelings are valid. It's another thing to say that your thoughts are valid. Completely different. And when you start to believe those negative thoughts about yourself, you're going to start consuming you. Those thoughts are going to consume you, and it's going to change you, and it's going to make you believe these false narratives and create this false storyline that there's something innately wrong with you. And that's a lie. And that lie, all those lies that you're telling yourself are going to destroy your mental well-being. It's okay how you feel. It's okay the feelings that you have. But what I really want to drive home with you is the fact that the thoughts are not okay. Those negative thoughts are not. And so what do you do with that? It's okay to feel the way you feel, but it's not okay to think what you think. What do you mean by that? Okay, here's what I mean. So we want to distinguish between who you are as a person, your well-being, right? Who you are as a person, as a human being. And then we want to distinguish that with the thoughts that you're having. And sometimes, a lot of times, those thoughts are not accurate. And those thoughts that you have that are not accurate, that really influence how you feel, it's going to really make you start to believe something about yourself that's not true. And so if you're telling yourself these lies of, you're a failure, you're a loser, no one likes you, you are an idiot, I'm a loner, I'm by myself for a reason, everybody is looking at me, waiting for me to make a mistake. Those are all lies. And you're probably telling these lies to yourself every single day, aren't you? And when you start telling yourself over and over and over again how bad you are, you're a terrible person, no one likes you. When you start to tell yourself that enough times, you're going to start to believe it. And so those negative lies that you're believing about yourself turn into, it feels that true. It feels true. And when it starts to feel true, that's where it really destroys your well-being. And when your well-being is destroyed, when you don't have much of a purpose in life, you're going to feel like there's something, what's the use? There's something wrong in my world. There's something wrong with me. And so why am I here? And I want to encourage you that there is nothing wrong with you. You're struggling. And just because you're struggling with whatever's going on in your life doesn't mean that your life is over. It doesn't mean that there is something wrong with you. So it's one thing to have these thoughts that come in. It's another thing to believe them and to grab onto them and to say, yes, this is me. I am a failure. I failed and I always fail. And therefore I am a failure. No, don't hang on to that. Or maybe you do something and maybe you actually did something and you regret it. You wish you wouldn't have done that. And you can't go back and change it. And so you beat yourself up and say, gosh, why did I do that? I'm stupid. I'm an idiot. You start to believe it. You can't go back and change it. But what you can do is change how you view yourself from it. Now, I'm not saying, excuse yourself and not saying it's okay to make those whatever you did in the past. But I want you to realize that as soon as you start to equate your mistakes, the things that you do or don't do, and you equate that with who you are as a human being, that's a lie. And when you start to believe those lies, day in and day out, you wake up in the morning, you feel like an idiot. You go to work and you feel like a failure. You come home and you just feel like a loser because no one talked to you. And you look for times and opportunities to confirm your lies that you're telling yourself, right? So when you go to work and you feel like a loser and you go to work and no one talks to you, you're automatically going to think, well, it's because I'm a loser. Or maybe you're going to wake up in the morning and something terrible happened yesterday, and you wake up in the morning and you say, here we go again. I'm alone for a reason. I'm a loser. No one likes me. Or maybe you have a relationship and maybe you have a partner and you say something that you didn't mean at the time. You reacted out of emotion and you said something that you didn't mean. And then you just convince yourself that your partner is going to break up with you because you're an idiot. You know, these are things that are really hard to avoid and get rid of. But when you recognize, and this is what I want you to really pay attention to, when you recognize that these thoughts that you're having about yourself are negative and they're not accurate. They may feel accurate, but they're not accurate. They may point to certain events in your life, maybe a mistake, or you weren't able to talk to somebody. And so you come up with these reasons why you're no good. And so I want to encourage you that when you catch yourself having those lies about yourself, I want you to really focus on and ask yourself, okay, I feel like a loser. Why? Challenge those negative thoughts. Why? Why do you feel like a loser? Well, because I went to work and no one talked to me. Okay, but I think you're leaving out so many other details here. You're jumping to conclusions and you are filling in the blanks of why people didn't come talk to you. Well, maybe you went to work and no one came to talk to you because you didn't talk to them. You were waiting for people to come to you. And if everybody felt that way, if everyone felt like, well, I don't think people are going to talk to me, so I'm going to just stay by myself and wait for someone to come to me. If everyone thought that, everybody would feel like a loser, right? So when you really allow those negative thoughts, those lies that are telling you and you're going to destroy your well-being, once you start to give in to them and believe them, it's going to influence how you behave. And then it becomes a part of your routine, it becomes a part of your psyche, it becomes a part of who you believe you really are. And that is going to destroy your well-being. You're not going to enjoy life because you're always wondering, well, I've got to do something or say something the right way. I have to act the right way for people to really acknowledge that I'm actually a decent human being. But here's the thing, when you want other people to like you, you have to like yourself first. And when you start to tell yourself all of these lies, like you're a loser, you're nobody, you're not good enough, once you start telling yourself that over and over and over and over and over again, you're going to start to believe it. And when you believe those lies, it's going to influence you in a very negative way. So what do you do about that? What do you do with those negative thoughts that you have? So I already said your feelings are valid. How you feel is very valid. No one can tell you how to feel or not feel, but it's the thoughts that you need to challenge. So here's what I want to encourage you to do. The next time that you start to have these negative thoughts about yourself, write them down. I want you to write them down, all the way down. Right? Everything. I'm a loser. Write it down. I'm nobody. I don't feel good enough. I feel like there's something wrong with me. Write it all down. And then when you write it all down on the sheet of paper, next to each one of those negative thoughts, each one of those lies that you're telling yourself, I want you to really think about, step back from the emotion and challenge those thoughts. Okay, I feel like a loser, and then put why. And you have to answer the why. Why do you feel like a loser? Well, it's because ... Whatever happened, you feel like a loser. Because I went to work and nobody talked to me. Okay. All right. So that's a true statement, but don't allow that true statement to influence how you think about yourself. See the difference? So, all right. You write down what happened. No one came to talk to me. Why? Keep asking yourself why. Dig a little deeper. Why? Until you really get to the source. So here's how it goes. You write it down. I feel like a failure. Why? Because I went to work and no one talked to me. Why? Because I kept to myself and I didn't go and talk to anyone else. Bingo! Now we're getting to the reason. Now we're getting to the evidence. Because you didn't go out and talk to other people, and because no one came to you and talked to you, therefore you're a loser. That's your conclusion. But I want you to start creating new conclusions based on what you know to be true. So if you use that same example, I went to work, no one talked to me. Why? Because I didn't go out and introduce myself, or I didn't put myself out there. Why? And then you're probably going to say, because I feel like a loser. In that loop, it's a loop. So we got to break that loop in. When you write it down, look for the source. Then when you realize that, well, it's because I didn't put myself out there, I didn't go and talk to somebody, then the next day you go back to work, put yourself out there. Challenge those thoughts. Face those fears. Because you have to realize that those thoughts are not always true. And yet they influence how you feel. I want you to get this down. I want you to stop believing the lies that you're telling yourself that's going to destroy your well-being. Did you make a mistake? Probably. Is there something wrong with you? Absolutely not. Did you do something and you failed? Maybe. Does that mean you're a failure? Absolutely not. Because someone is not talking to you, maybe they didn't text you or call you, and you feel like there's something wrong with me. Does that mean there is something wrong with you? No, not at all. So challenge those lies that you're telling yourself, write them down, and then write down what you do know to be true. So if you feel like you're a loser, you feel like you're a nobody, you feel like there's something wrong with you, then right next to it say why. Why do you feel that way? And keep going, keep saying why, until you come to the actual reason. And then you're going to realize, after you peel back all the emotion, you're going to realize, you know what? Maybe I'm jumping to conclusions here. Maybe these are lies. And guess what happens when you realize that they are lies that you're believing? A whole new life begins to happen in your life. A whole new way of thinking begins, and you start to feel more confident. But it starts with the little things. It starts with writing it down. It starts with acknowledging that they're lies in the first place, and then realizing that you need to challenge those lies.